I was sweating my butt off. I was dancing my socks off. So I had no butt and no socks by the end of the night. Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
how to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, come and join the conversation in our Facebook group.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
That was a little weird. I don't know quite what happened. There was a little yodely, I think, at my hello, hello, hello. I don't know. This weird accent that kind of snuck in at the end there. So I had this. So this is linked to what we're going to be talking about today, but we've got a little meandering to do in the getting there. So there is a Facebook group that I belong to, which is mindful of kind of social justice and kind of political issues. And I'm not really very active in there. In fact, I'm not really active in there at all. But one of the things that I really love about this group is that every Sunday they do a meme dump. So it's like all the memes that people have seen throughout the week, they dump them in there, like in the same thread. And like, if I'm like, I had an optician's appointment this week, like when I was in the waiting room, I was just like scrolling through the memes because it's like, it's light, it's engaging, but it's kind of passing the time, but it's not like activating my brain. And I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, I was in there and I was scrolling through, and there was a meme in there about there's this guy, like this like legend from Key West called Bumfato, ha 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 kind of thing. And I was like, it's so weird because it's such a thing here. I don't even really like, I've never really thought about how funny a name that is. Because it's just part of like local folklore here. Like you don't, I mean, I just haven't really thought about it. And I'm like, yeah, that's like one of our legends. Like, what are you going to say about it kind of thing? Like, it was like, but I was like, more importantly, I was like, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of funny, isn't it? But I was like, it was so funny that in this international group that there was this meme about this legend from here in Key West, which and it's just,
I mean, he's kind of a random, I mean, he is a legend in Key West, but the story is like
very random.
It is a very random story. It is kind of interesting. There's a town near me where I grew up, and a town that one of my friends grew up in called Sandwich. And people are always like, and you see like memes, and it's like the police department, like one of the cop cars, and it says Sandwich Police. And I'm like, yeah, what's so funny about that? Not even thinking like to somebody who didn't grow up in an area that had a sandwich, they like, it's like,
right.
The Sandwich Police running around with 2 loaves of bread or something.
Well, and it's like, obviously that's from sort of the New England area, and we obviously have Sandwich in England. Like I'm guessing that's where it came from. So yeah, it's like not something I would have ever thought. And I don't know that Sandwich is actually big enough in the UK to have like Sandwich Police. I'm guessing they maybe are, but I don't know. I like it's funny. I'm like, I've never seen that, but like as soon as you say that, I'm like, well, yeah, because like we've got a sandwich too, but we don't have the things that obviously are memified about these things. Anyway, so last night, and so to give context to what's been going on here, as we shared in a couple of episodes previously, I've recently gone through a pretty rough breakup. I think that's a bit of an understatement, but it's been a very difficult time, and there are a number of like contributing factors that make this situation way worse than your average breakup, unfortunately. Obviously I'm doing okay because I'm not in a puddle of tears as I'm talking about it, so like we are making and that's not because I'm resisting it. Like, as I will share in a minute, there were tears yesterday, so I'm like allowing things as they come through. But yesterday was a very interesting day. I had lunch with some girlfriends, and I didn't realize how much the emotion was still present until I just saw these girlfriends and they gave me a hug and I fell apart in tears. So I'm like, oh, that's still a thing. Right, cool. Okay. I mean, and it's only been a month, so it's natural that that's still a thing. But I think kind of snuck up on me a little bit. I wasn't really expecting it in that moment. And because of what's been going on, and also because of the cleanse that I was doing, which is now over, I'm back to eating regular food again. Yay! I got my chickpea tuna salad, which if you were listening in a couple of episodes ago, you know, was the one thing, random thing I was craving the entire time I was on my cleanse. Anyway, that's one side. The joy of chewing and the joy of different flavors and textures. Like, yeah. Anyway, because of that, I haven't really been out and about very much. Plus, with what's been going on, I've had a very tender heart, and I'm been in a space where I'm like, I just didn't really want to people. I just didn't want to deal with people. And I wasn't ready to kind of have all the conversations. Like, I spoke to my close people, and I've seen my close friends. But like, kind of wider than that, I've been just a little, what's the word? Tentative, a little bit, more introverted, I think is probably the best way of describing it. And so yesterday I went for lunch with these girlfriends of mine, had my tears and my moments, and they gave me all the hugs and everything. And then last night I got offered 2 tickets to go and see Bumfarto the musical. So there's a local production company down here that's put together a musical which tells the story of the legend of Bumfarto. If you and apparently this is one of the things I didn't know. Apparently his name was actually Joseph Farto, but he was obsessed with the fire trucks, and he used to bum rides on the fire trucks, and that was where the nickname came from, and it just stuck throughout his entire life. He actually became the fire chief at one point. It was in the 70s. There was a very big drug scene in Key West. He was dealing drugs, and there was a sting operation to try and get him. And anyway, he ended up like fleeing the country. And there's this, it's like the legend of Bumfuck. Like, where is he? Like, did he die? Was he a secret CIA agent? Did he just disappear off to a desert island? Apparently he made it to Costa Rica. That was the one thing they were aware of, that they made it. And it was a fun night. And as somebody who is a dancer, when you see people dance, generally speaking, it kind of has you going, oh, I kind of want to dance a little bit. And also I haven't been dancing very much recently because I've been dealing with some back issues, plus not going out, plus the cleanse, plus all the other stuff I've been dealing with. Lots of reasons. Yeah, there's a lot of math that's been going on, a lot of emotional math that's been happening at this end. And so I hadn't been going out very much. Now, last night was a Thursday night, and Thursday night is traditionally one of the Latin nights in town at one of the bars. Now, I was a little bit reticent about going to this bar because it's actually where me and the person I split up with met. So I was a little bit unsure about how I would feel about going there. But I went out with a friend of mine who I dance with, and we went to dinner, we went to the show, and then afterwards, I'm like, I even wore my dancing shoes, kind of like if we feel like having a dance afterwards. And he was like, we're going to Virgilio's afterwards. I'm like, oh, we are we? I'm like, do I get a say in the matter? And he's a great friend. Like, if I'd been like, hard no, I'm not up for it tonight, he would have brought me home without any issue. But that's what we did. We went to Virgilio's afterwards, and I didn't realize how much I needed to dance until I got on the dance floor. Like, and it's funny, like we talk, and like I can imagine people listening going, what's the point of this? Why are you telling us this? And I think that it's something that, I mean, First of all, obviously, it's important for you to find your thing, whatever your thing is. But we've talked a lot about when you are going through things, the importance of getting the somatic body involved, like getting your somatic system. I mean, somatic relates to the body. So the somatic system involved, getting your body involved in processing, whether that's making the sound of it, whether it's crying, whether it's shaking your body, whether it's moving your body, whether it's going out for a walk, something I've been doing a lot of, like in terms of just like moving the energy and moving my body and getting things kind of shifting, I guess. But there is something about dance that just, it's like it opens a gateway in my soul and lets everything out. And it was funny because I didn't get emotional while I was on the dance floor. I actually just felt like I came home. Like, that's how it felt. And it was like, it was me and I have a regular dance partner down here in Key West who I call my salsa bestie or my salsa goofball. He is a character. He is a very dear friend. I adore him. And a lot of the time that we spend dancing, we just spend the whole time laughing because he'll screw up or I'll screw up and like we'll fall apart laughing and everything. And it felt so good to move my body like with intention, not just like moving it, but there was like an energy to it that was like and there were different dances that we did. We did salsa, which can be kind of upbeat and fast paced. You can do merengue, which is a little bit slower. You can do bachata, which is like a little bit more kind of fluid, a little bit more sensual. And I was doing all of these dances, and I'm like, and also I'm sweating. Sweating is also a good way of like getting the somatics involved, literally getting shit out of your system. And I remember having this moment of like, oh my God, this is just what I needed. I was sweating my butt off. I was dancing my socks off. So I had no butt and no socks by the end of the night. And I was laughing, but it wasn't like forced laughing. It wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to pretend I'm okay. I was just finding things funny because this friend of mine was just making me laugh a lot. And even to the point where like there were other people there who I'd never met before. And David, my dance partner, was like he was like kind of indicating to this other person like, oh, she's a good dancer, and he was like, you don't mind dancing with him next? I'm like, no, I don't mind dancing. And this was somebody I'd never met before. He was a great dancer, so there was a lot of kind of upbeat. There was like, it was an energetic dance. It was like moving the energy. And it's so funny because as somebody who is a longtime Grey's Anatomy fan, anybody else who watches the series a lot will know they do this thing called dancing it out, where it's like, it doesn't matter if they're sad, if they're angry, if they're frustrated, if they're happy, they'll just put a song on and just dance in their living room together. And there's something about doing it with somebody, like there's this kind of connected energy that you get to share the experience with, so it becomes something different. That don't get me wrong, it's good to do it on your own too, but there's something about like collectively processing and like moving like stuff through your system, getting your somatic system involved in more than just crying, like moving it. And really, like, as I said, once you've got like some real energy behind it, like we're not talking like a little kind of sway dance. We're talking about like hit the dance floor hard and like just put everything you've got into it. And the good thing is like, it's like another thing that I tend to do this with is singing, like, because these art forms are a form of expression. And a lot of the time people won't do things unless they are good at them. It's like, oh no, I can't dance. It's like, it doesn't matter whether you've got two left feet. You can dance. And if you want to dance, you absolutely should. Like, it's like, just because you're not necessarily the best singer in the world, that doesn't mean to say you shouldn't. Like, singing is a form of expression. It's a form of getting what we're feeling on the outside and allowing it to be processed out externally to us. And like, there have been times in the last few weeks where I felt anger, I felt frustration, I felt resentment, and when I was like getting into the dance, like all of that, I was like moving that through my body. I was expressing that with my movements. And the same thing when I sing, like I'll go and I'll sing a really angsty song, like get your Alanis, get your Avril Lavigne, like all of that, like kind of those kind of like, those sort of songs. They're great to kind of like get that out of your system. Like Fall Out Boys, Thanks for the Memories. Like people who know me well know that's my angry song. Like, and that's not a song that's in alignment with what I would normally sing. But if I want to get shit out of my system, that's a great way of expressing how I'm feeling in a way that is beyond just words, thoughts, and feelings. And even as somebody who teaches this stuff, I didn't realize how much I needed it until I was literally on the dance floor. And I found myself genuinely smiling because I'm like, this is what I needed. Yeah, I'm a little bit achy today. Yeah, my back's like, really? Did we really need to do that much? I'm like, apparently, yes, we did. Get on board, because that's what's happening. But I just thought it was something that would be really helpful to kind of remind people, is that there are forms of expression, and as I said, it's important to find the one that works for you. And it may be that it's like art, like it's like flinging stuff at the page, like it doesn't have to be dance, it doesn't have to be singing, it could be poetry, it could be like expressing your, like one of the things that I did recently was I went to a songwriters festival, and it inspired me to start writing songs. And one of the interesting things is that I went to the Songwriters Festival about a month before the breakup. And I was thinking of like song titles that I might want to put lyrics to. And there was a song title about the relationship I was currently in that the second I felt it, I'm like, oh God, I can't really shift that. So because things were not great in this relationship. And so there was obviously something that wanted to be expressed out to me. So I could have done it in song lyrics or poetry. You could do it by writing a short story or a novel if you want. But I think that find your thing. The one thing I'll say about writing is that is one aspect of it, but it really helps when you get your somatic system involved in it as well. So if you can find a form of expression, I know that with Serena, like tap dancing is a good way for you as well, right? Because of like the energy of the taps and like getting stuff out of your system.
Yeah, I think it's more usually when there's the more undesirable emotions, usually the anger, the frustration. That's when tap dancing really, really does it for me, because I can just I hear the noise of the result of my movement. Like there's
you kind
a
of
whole
feel the strike as well. Like
absolutely. And if I and you can go hard and tap, or you can go like light and dainty on your toe. Yeah, I find that when I'm in a space dancing, like if I find the modality that is speaking to the feeling I'm having,
right,
like it's not always the sing, and I know the same for you. It's not always the singular form of dance, but yeah, tap dance, like when I really want to move some energy, like that's definitely one that kind of does it for me.
Well, and it's like, and I think you made a really good point there about like the different forms of dance. Like, so, like I remember when I still worked in corporate, I realized that there were different forms of dance that spoke to the different aspects of my personality. So salsa, which I'd done for years, was that kind of sexy, fun, energetic thing. I decided to learn Argentine tango because that kind of connected me to my sensual side. I decided to do a week-long hip hop course. I took a week's vacation from work and did a hip hop course, which was like hip hop, popping, locking, breaking, all that sort of stuff, because there was like an attitude that I was able to. And interestingly enough, like again, I think that's like it's an art form that sometimes is kind of pigeonholed to only be one thing. But there was some kind of beautiful, like almost lyrical hip hop routines that I learned, which was like almost as expressive as like the Argentine tango was. And then there were some ones that kind of allowed that for that kind of that kind of edgy like attitude, like that kind of more gritty side of me to come out, which I wasn't necessarily getting out in the Argentine tango. I also took a week-long vacation and did a contemporary dance, which again was much more about the emotive side of things. And I did different forms of contemporary dance within the context of that week. So it's like even within like a kind of type of dance, there are different forms of that type of dance. So it's like if you're a hip hop dancer, but you want to express something that's kind of a little bit more sensual or a little bit more emotive, there is a lyrical form of hip hop which will allow for you to do that. Like with salsa dances, there's like salsa romantica, which is obviously much more kind of romantic and soft, and then you got salsa dura, which is like hard hitting, like let's get this, make this thing happen. There are some some pieces of music I call kind of death by salsa because they're so fast paced. I'm like by the end of it, I'm like, what? Okay, I might need a break before the next one, sort of thing. Because they're so energetic. And the good thing is with dance is that there are different forms of dance that will speak to different something like with ballroom, like with the Paso Doble, has got that kind of, again, that's like it's like it's the story of the bullfight. So there is that kind of combative energy in there. Same thing if you want to go completely other end of the spectrum, you've got like crumping, which was basically like a way of kind of creating connections that were outside of now I will need to check this because I may need to add a little addition if I'm wrong, but I believe it was actually created in LA, and it was a way of having young kids have a place to go that were different to gang culture. And there's a lot of kind of angsty, like the movements. It's like it's powerful when you see it, and like there's all these kind of different forms. Like Serena said, like tap is a different one, and like a lot of people would think about like tap and like jazz hands, but like Serena tap can also be like, get this fucking shit out of my system. I want to tap this out. And so it's like that, like it's like figuring out like what is it that we're trying to express, and then finding the art form that speaks to that thing that we are trying to express in a way that feels in alignment for us. So as said, you may want to do a lyrical hip hop versus a contemporary. If you want to do, if dance is your thing, you might want to like sing a country song about loss, or you might want to sing a country song about the asshole who screwed you over. Like both country songs, but they're, I mean, like you've got like Jolene on one hand, and then you've got Before He Cheats on another hand. Both country songs, very different energy behind them, and the expression that goes with it is very different. So I think that this is like something that can be very powerful to find the somatic process, and also like finding something that is somatic and artistic, I think can really be where the magic in this kind of comes together, right?
Definitely. It's interesting because I can tell you can probably see my brain kind of working right now. And it's interesting because Claire is actually frozen on my screen right now. So I'm not sure what kind of facial expressions and whatnot are going on. But I was thinking about just a couple of days ago, I went off roading in a side by side, and it's been a very challenging couple of weeks. There's a lot of like just energy that needed to be moved. And I never really would have thought like for me, going outside is often therapeutic, connecting with nature, going for like hikes and walks. There's something calming about it. And I realized as you were speaking, going on the side by side somatically helped me process where I was at, because I came out of that with a totally different air about me. And it was, there was speed, there was dirt, it was gritty. We were climbing rocks, we were like tipping ourselves over. There was like a struggle and then a power through to get, if you've ever for people who haven't done kind of off-roading, like you get to a point where it's like, oh, I can't get up this rock, and it's like, no, you can find where your wheels need to go, find, you have to give it power, just trust the process type of deal. And I came out of that feeling like yeah, like that moved like some of that kind of gritty, like negative energy through my body. And I left it on the rocks, and we laughed and we were wooing and all of the things. And I never really would have before, because I tend to lean towards the artistic element of expressing myself, whether it be crafts or singing or dancing. And that really did something for me. And it's like, I do know there are times when things totally don't make sense and my mind is such a cluster. If I get kind of out into nature, it lets things breathe a little bit. But just thinking to that the other day, I'm like, wow, that really helped move it through my body, because we were jostled, we were being like shooken up, and
Right.
I got to leave it behind. So
Right.
yeah, it's
Well, and it doesn't have to be artistic in nature, as long as it is somatic in nature, and as long as in what you are doing, you're kind of moving your body in whichever way your system needs to move in order to process through what's present. Like something that is very present for me and has been very present for me for a while now is I really want to go to a rage room. Like there's like, I think that for where I am at presently in my life, I think it would be fantastic. I have thrown a couple of things across the room at times here, things that won't break and things, but I'm like, I don't want to be careful. I want to bust the fuck out of some stuff, quite frankly, because I do think that there's something about that kind of shattering of something that you are like transferring this energy within you that could be destructive intellectually and emotionally to yourselves or other people if you don't get it out. But by shattering something else outside of you, now I know that there's some things about like privilege and waste and all the things that are associated with that. Like I'm not saying this is something you should be doing every week, but I just think that there is a moment where actually this is something that would be really helpful for me. Like screaming into a towel or going underwater and screaming underwater somewhere. Like there's things that you can do that will get your system to actually process through the cells of your body, not just your mind and your emotions. And that so often that's where we get stuck and we don't allow. And the other thing is to remember that it doesn't have to look a certain way, and you don't even necessarily need to know what works before you do it. Like you could just try things. Like I could have gone dancing last night and ended up in a puddle on the dance floor, or just been like I'm not feeling it. This is not working for me. And the truth of the matter is, there was a point at which the DJ that plays at this place, he and I have an interesting relationship, because he has a habit of playing songs that are not really danceable songs. And he knows. And the second he shifts the music, he always looks at me, and I'm like, I'm going to start throwing olives at you. I'm going to start throwing things at. I mean, it's like a fun little joke that we have between us. But the second the music shifted, both of us were like, yeah, I think it's time to go. Like, this is not what feels right now. And there are other times where that music would have been perfect for what I needed, and what I'd just been dancing to for the past hour probably wouldn't have been what I needed. Mm-hmm. So it's like figuring out, this is where the figuring out what it is that you want to create and looking for the options for possibilities of way that you can create it comes in. Because it's like, right, I want to process somatically. What are the ways I could do that? And again, like, sometimes it can be like, okay, what are the things I think I might be wanting to process? Maybe there's some frustration, maybe there's some anger. If you're feeling joy or peace, chances are rage room isn't what you need at that point in time. If you are experiencing anger, frustration, resentment, rage room could be a really good fit. Do I want to dance? Do I want to move? Do I want to go and do a dance class? Because a dance class, I don't have to think about how I'm moving my body. I'm just following what this person is telling me to do, and therefore I can be in the expression of the movement. Is a dance class going to restrict me too much, where actually I just want to freeform it and I want to do whatever the hell I want to do, and doing a class is not going to be it for me? Like, I remember there was somebody locally used to do something they called spirit dance, which was basically an excuse for people to get together and just dance move however they wanted to move to whatever pieces of music they put on. Now, I will say that the music was probably a little bit more gentle in nature. I don't think you were going to be listening to death metal in there, let's put it that way. But I do think that actually having a place where you can put on different forms of music and just move your body, whether you do that in your living room, whether you're like, you call your bestie and be like, hey, I want to dance it out. Want to come do it with me? And like, funnily enough, this is not the first time I've danced this week. I actually danced on Saturday during my Celebrate Being Alive day. And the things that I danced to, the songs I danced to, and the movements I used on Saturday were very different to the movements I was using yesterday. Like, when I was on Saturday, it was very much about celebration. It was about feeling connected to people. So I put on songs like, I put on one of the songs that makes me feel connected to Serena. I put on one of the songs that makes me feel connected to Verity, one of my friends from the UK. I put on a song that made me feel connected to the person I was there with. And we danced, like, it felt like full of like hope and gratitude and all of that. That's what was present on Saturday. Yesterday, I was burning some shit into the floor. Like, that was like, it was like, and that's a good thing. Like, with, if you're doing movements where you feel very connected to the floor, you can feel the energy kind of releasing from your body through your feet into the floor. And if you're mindful of that as you are doing it, then what you can do is it can facilitate that process. Like, there's like dancing it out as a general thing, but if you're actually aware that you have some energy or emotion in you that you don't want to be carrying, you can use that form of dance to channel that energy out of your physical system into the floor or into your tap shoes or whatever it is you might want to do. There was actually a tap routine in the show I saw last night. I thought about you when I saw it.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it later. But yeah, it was, I'm like, because you don't see tap very often. And I don't think I've ever seen tap in Key West. Well, I've seen Serena dance in tap shoes around Bobby's Monkey Bar of an evening. But I've never seen a tap show that was put on in a kind of formal setting. But yeah, I think that, and so it's like, there's the figuring out, first of all, it's like, what do I think I might want to express? What are the options for doing that? I try the different options out. And even then, when you're in it, like, is there anything I can do to enhance this? Is there anything I can do to amplify the effect I'm getting from this and help process this through my body even more than I'm already doing so? Because like, some dances, like if you're dancing by yourself in the living room, you might want to make the sound of what it is you're feeling as you're doing it. You may not want to do that on your local Latin dance floor. I mean, some people would, some people wouldn't. But that was the moment where I'm like, I'm getting this shit into the floor. Like, I'm like everything that's in me, I'm leaving it on this dance floor right now. And that release plus the literal sweat release from my body. They say that the salt water is often the cure for anything, whether it's the ocean, whether it's tears, or whether it's sweat. There's like a famous quote that says like salt water is the cure for anything. It's one of those three things. And like yesterday I was by the salt water, I allowed the tears, and I sweated my butt off as well. So like I kind of did all three yesterday. But I think that like finding the ways of really connecting in and expressing out in a way that feels in alignment with what your body is telling you need in that moment in time is like, that's when magic happens.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, when I first started doing this kind of stuff and really realizing the different ways to process emotion in the somatic element, I found myself kind of drawn to do things I had never done before. And I'm like, oh, I kind of feel like I want to do this, but I don't do that, or that's not me, or that seems weird.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of trusting it and being like, okay, my being is telling me to grab a pool noodle and assault a tree. Like my mind is like, we're not gonna do that. You're gonna look silly. We don't need to express this way. And it's like, all right, am I hurting anybody with a pool noodle hitting the tree? Probably not. And if not, like if that's what I'm being drawn to,
Mm-hmm.
sometime there was, I mean, especially when we started with me going through like the program and whatnot, there was a lot of hesitation, like, I'm not going to do that. But when I let myself do those things, it's like, oh, it's like my body knew what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you had to kind of get out of your own way. And of course, making sure that it's not going to impact your needs negatively or anybody else's or the needs ecosystem. But like, trust yourself. If your being is like, I should do this, and you're like, like,
Mm-hmm.
that just seems out of the norm for me, but it isn't harming yourself or anybody else, like, give it a shot. You'd be surprised what your body and your being knows that your brain stops you from doing because of it's not you,
Yeah.
it's not, you know, like I could see people onlooking, somebody going at a tree with a pool noodle being like, "Oh, there's something wrong there." It's like, actually, no, there's something right here.
Well, and I think that you've just hit on a really important aspect of this, which is that so often we allow what we think other people will think of
Mhm.
us to prevent us from connecting with the things that are really going to meet our needs. And this is one of the reasons that if you'd spoken to me 20 years ago and asked me whether I would do some of the things that I do on the regular now, I would have been like, no, 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 no,
You're
no.
silly.
Yeah, I'm going to look silly. And this is the thing is like a lot of people don't dance because they're afraid they're quote unquote not a dancer and that they're going to look silly. A lot of people don't sing because they're afraid that they're quote unquote not a singer. Like some of our favorite people to watch at our local karaoke bar are not the people who are the greatest
Mhm.
vocalists. But it's not like they're not singing badly and we're kind of getting enjoyment because they look silly. We love watching them because they're having fun, they're
Mhm.
expressing themselves, they're getting into it, and the entire bar is behind them,
Mhm.
irrespective of their skill. And I like one of the things that I think that, and that's one of the things that a lot of the time prevents us from connecting with the things that our inner child would really love. It's like our inner child is that part that wants to play and have fun. And like one of the things that I love to do is I love to twirl. Like
Mhm.
I love to twirl. And most adults don't twirl.
Especially if
Reminds
you
me,
have a dress on, like
you know who I'm thinking of right now. The first time I met them, they were in a dress and they were twirling, and they were just like, they were like very, very dear friends of ours. And it was a very Key West meeting, because we actually met them the day of the local drag races. So, which is literally people in drag racing up and down the main
Mhm.
street here. And one of them was naked, which is also a very Key West thing. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay. But this other one was in this kind of Carmen Miranda outfit and was just twirling. And you just tell he felt so pretty. And he was like, look at me. And he was having there was so much joy
There
in
was.
that moment. And it was such a beautiful, and it's like, it's part of the reason I fell in love with them, because like we got to share that moment and they felt safe around us to just be themselves and do whatever they wanted to do. And it was such an honor to have somebody feel safe to be themselves around you. But it was also that reminder of like, when was the last time I twirled? I haven't twirled in a while. like, and it's like, there's a part of me that really loves twirling. Like I do it in swimming pools. Like I do twizzles in swimming pools. If I go to a swimming pool, I'll twizzle like really fast one way and then really fast the other way. And you can see people like, what is she doing? I'm like, I'm twizzling. Leave me the fuck alone. Like nobody asked
You're an
me your
adult.
opinion.
You're supposed to go in the pool and stand still.
Or do laps. Yeah.
Or do laps.
Yeah. No. Or
Twizzle.
drink. I mean, you can twizzle and drink, like, or drink and then twizzle, or twizzle and drink. Like there's lots of ways of doing it. But it's like, this is the thing, is like, and this is why where we are at in our journey is so much easier than it is for your average person, because our needs are very well met at a base level for ourselves. So we're not dependent on what other people think of us or what other people feel or how other people may react to us in order to get our needs met. More importantly, if other people react badly to us, there's a difference between if like we're harming somebody else, that's an entirely different thing. But if we're not doing any harm to anybody else and somebody else is laughing at me or somebody else thinks what I'm doing is stupid, I'm like, have at it. There's a fantastic poem or like post I've seen called Let Them. Like, let them think badly of you. Let them think that you're stupid. Let them think you're silly. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if somebody else thinks I'm silly. I don't care if I am causing other people to believe things that aren't true about me. It doesn't matter. Like what somebody else thinks of me is none of my business. And because my needs aren't tangled up in that, it's easier now to be like, I'm going to do me. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch.
I'm sorry, my twirls make you uncomfortable. I'm doing them in my twirl space. But it's like, no, I'm not sorry. Like,
right. And it's like, a great example was on, as I said, Saturday we did a bubble dance party on a pier down here. We were dancing with, I had framed pictures of like a lot of my closest people so that they could feel like I could feel they were a part of the day. So we were dancing with these people in photo frames, like with bubbles on the pier, surrounded by other people. And you know what was great? I'm sure there were a bunch of people on that pier that were like, the fuck are they doing? I'm like, weirdos or whatever. They would be right. Very proud of it. But the thing that I remember was there was a couple on a bike and she came past and she was like, oh my God, you two look fabulous. Like she was getting joy from the joy that we were experiencing. And there was another person who came over and were like, can I ask, why are you dancing with photo frames? And I'm like, sure, like this is my Celebrate Being Alive day. This one couldn't be here, so this is so that she can be here. This one's my best friend's dead mom. Like she comes out on adventures with us. Like it was like, and it was fun. Like that was what I remember because that's what I was focused on. That's what I paid attention to. That's what and yet 20 years ago, I would have been focused on all the negative things that different people might have been thinking. And in untruth,
you would have been watching the people who were watching with their own judgments about how you're supposed to enjoy life.
And I believe, and there's one other thing that I kind of took from it, as well as those two moments, was I saw people who I felt would want to join in, but didn't feel able to, or didn't feel comfortable to, or were concerned about how they would appear. And so this is the reason that kind of meeting these base level needs for yourselves is so important, because we're at a point now where it's like, you think we look stupid? Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Like, I don't really care. And if this thing is going to make me feel good, it's going to support my needs, it's going to help me process something, that is so much more important than what some random stranger may or may not think of me. It's not even a question. Like, it's like we were talking in the last episode about the haunted house. And there were times in my life where I would have felt like I would have to put on a brave face or think that like I have to be cool. And if I'm cool, like a haunted house wouldn't bother me, or like other people like that. So I have to like that. Fuck that. I don't like them. I don't want to do, like, it was one of the things one of the first things I said to Serena was like, I'm not doing any haunted stuff anymore. Let's not do that again. Like I've decided I just don't like it. So I'm not going to do it anymore. Heads up. And she was like, cool. Thanks for letting me know. But there was a time where I would have felt this pressure to feel like, well, that's not the cool thing to do. Like, or like Serena's into haunted stuff, so I've got to do haunted stuff with her. And I'm like, there's plenty of stuff that we both enjoy that we would be able to do. And I know she would far rather us do something we both like than me be at a detriment to try and give her what I think she's going to like.
Well, and there was a point where I would have been like, you're no fun. And I would have pressured you to like do it to, yeah, like it's. Yeah.
No, okay. There's a point where you would have tried to pressure me and old me would have relented to that pressure.
Yes.
Now, if somebody comes up and tries to pressure me to do something, I have to try really hard not to laugh because I'm like, oh, I'm not the one.
Not me. And
I would have been at one point, but not now.
The pressuring thing either, which is interesting because I'm like, oh, you don't want, all right, let's find something else to do. Like,
yeah,
that doesn't mean you're no fun. It just means haunted houses aren't your thing. Cool. Like,
and it's like my fun and your fun is different. Let's find the fun that works. That again, there's going to be a Venn diagram. That's going to be like, what's the overlap between my fun and your fun? And I mean, let's be honest, with the two of us, there are plenty of things that fall into that category.
Right.
Like that's not something we have to ever search too hard to find. But I do think that it is something that we really want to be able to support our needs at that base level, so that in those moments where we have intense things going on in our lives, because life be lifing, life is going to happen. Adulting is fucking hard. And there are going to be situations, whether you're dealing with breakups, whether you're dealing with category 5 hurricanes coming at you, whether you're dealing with living on an island where housing is interesting to find, all of which are up in my life right now, or any other number of a whole bunch of other things that could be going on in life. Shit's going to happen. And when that shit happens, you want to make sure that your base level needs are at a point where, one, it doesn't completely take you out, because I'm so grateful that I have people in my life. I've had both of my closest people, I think two or three of my closest people in this last week alone has said to me, I don't know if you realize how well you're dealing with everything that's going on right now, but I just want you to know. And I don't mean as in you're dealing with it well, as in you're looking like you're not dealing with it and therefore you seem fine, as in you are processing it, you're doing everything you need to do. And even like as somebody who does what I do, there are moments like, oh, thank you. That really helped to hear that. So the first thing is that it allows you to have that internal resource to better cope with those moments when it happens. But also it means that in those moments, whatever it is that you need to do in order to feel good, as long as you're doing it in a self-first way, i.e. not negatively impacting you, your needs, somebody else or their needs, or the needs ecosystem, you can do it because that hold that other people's beliefs, thoughts, ideas, opinions, judgments have over you is almost non-existent, because your needs are no longer dependent on them approving of you. And so once you can get to that point, then you can do the things that are going to make 80% of the difference in 20% of the time. Because I'm going to tell you, like, if I looked ridiculous dancing on the dance floor last night, I would not have given a shit, because it felt good and I'm in a better space. There was a point where I'm like, I'm supposed to be podcasting all day tomorrow. Was this really the smartest decision I've had? Because it was a late night compared to what I have been doing recently. I'm like, abso-fucking-lutely. It was the best choice I could make for myself, because as I'm sure Serena can attest, my energy today compared to where my energy has been recently is very different.
Absolutely.
Because I did that. And so it's like, it wouldn't have mattered if I felt silly. It wouldn't have mattered. That's what was speaking to me in that moment. That's what I needed. And that's what got me to where I am today, which is another couple of steps forward on this healing journey. Now, healing journey is not linear. Doesn't mean that I'm okay today and I'm going to be even more okay tomorrow and I'm going to be even more okay the day after that, because there are going to be moments where I'm going to be like, fuck. Puddle
Aren't we
again.
past this?
Yes. And then we process that piece that comes up, and then we'll do whatever the thing is that we need at that moment, and then we'll bounce into a different space. So it's like we'll transition through it. But by doing it authentically, by doing the things that speak to us, our most deepest needs in these moments are the things that will get us to the other side of the healing journey as quickly and effectively and easefully as possible. And the more we can remove the noise of what other people's judgments or opinions might be, by making sure our needs are not dependent on those judgments, the more effectively we're going to be able to process through that.
Agreed.
Anything you want to add before we finish up?
That's not down a rabbit hole.
We'll save that rabbit hole for another day. So we'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And remember, if there is anything we've spoken about today, we're like, oh, could you speak more about this? Let us know. We'll happily add a podcast to our list of things to record that will speak more to that specific thing. And if you are listening and you're enjoying this, please do remember to follow us. And if you have the time to write a written review and give us a review on the podcast platform you're listening to, because it really does help other people to find us and to kind of get a sense of what it is that we do here. So if you're enjoying this or finding benefit, please feel free to do that. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, remember to take care of yourself, stay safe, and to continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and give us a written review,
as it will help more people find us. And remember, when in doubt, dance it out, or whatever the hell it is that meets your needs best in this moment.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.